Hello and welcome to Walpole United WFC. Hello all, welcome back to Walpole United WFC. What a day to be a United fan, eh? It's been what a week really. We've had news all over the place about Man United women. As you know, try and stay positive, but I don't feel today is going to be that day, unfortunately. And I think we've got three people with me. I think we're just going to say what we're currently feeling because it's not great surrounding Manchester United at the moment. And yeah, there's just a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about Jackie, obviously the rumours about her and Juventus, talk about Russo that came out today, obviously rejecting a contract. Talk about this budget, which I think has surprised us all, that there's 5 other WSL teams ahead of us, which is absolutely ludicrous, but we'll get to that a bit later on. And also talk about the ambition of the club. Does it meet the players? And is that why we're seeing some of these players reject some contracts? But firstly, let's see how everybody is. I'm hoping everyone's well. Barry?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. You'll be pleased to know I have rented out some space with Wi-Fi and everything. So it's in Big Ben, in case you hadn't noticed. I'm literally just hanging off the edge of Westminster right now. So yeah, that's all good. I've got that. Very sunburnt legs. Haven't quite reached Connor levels. Probably about an 8 on the Connor scale of sunburnt legs. But yeah, the backs of them as well. Backs of my arms, nothing. Strange. Don't know what's going on there. Son, obviously, I haven't got fat arms, just fat legs. Who knows? But there we go. So yeah, I'm all right. Thanks, mate. You?
Yeah, all good, all good. You referenced my sunburns. Very quick story time. So obviously my sunburns, if anyone's ever had a really bad one that starts to peel after a while, my cat stupidly jumped up at my sunburns yesterday and clawed all the way down it. Didn't I scream? That did not hurt. So I'm in a little bit of pain this morning, or this afternoon even. Charlie, great to have you back on. You're back in... No, where are you now? You're in Spain, I believe. You're
Yes.
over at the Bernabeu. How are you doing?
How is it? All right. Feel like a very tightly coiled spring with a TNT attached that could explode at any moment. Yeah, tough day, but it would be interesting to chat to other people about it, about what's happened today. Yeah,
100%. And Ellie, for yourself, great to have you back on.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just fed up about all the news, but try and remain positive.
100%. We'll dive into all of that and make sure you get all your comments in. I know Lanza, we were chatting earlier about this as well. I know you'll have a fair bit to say as well. So make sure you get your comments in and we'll try and go through all of those over the next hour and a bit. We'll start off with Jackie then. The story that broke, I believe it was last Thursday, potential transfer off to Juventus this summer. I'm just going to throw that out there for initial thoughts on that, really. Obviously, Barry, I'll throw it over to you first. When you first read that, do you expect that to be true? Do you think there's any truth in it? Now, obviously, a couple of years ago when we signed Jackie, there was rumours she was going to Juventus at the time, chose United over Juventus. So can you see that transfer now happening this summer?
Honestly, no. I didn't set any stock by it, if I'm brutally honest. Mainly because it just seems to have come out of possibly a shed somewhere with no specific type of sausage whatsoever on that one. And as the fans of Twitter will understand, I am the sort of man who requires sources and verification. I'm not a massive fan of Pete down the road told us that, he's best mates with his auntie's sister, who would also be related to him actually, and his dog was being walked and he found a little bit of information that actually on a batch is not Spanish, she's French. It's ridiculous. So no, I have absolutely zero stock put in that particular report. Does it mean she's not going anywhere? No, it doesn't. It's a volatile time. Anything could happen. And I think we've learned that today of all days. But no, I didn't particularly put any stock by that. Do I think Juventus would want her? Absolutely, 100%. But I equally don't... Yeah, I don't hold too much stock by that. I mean, when it happens, if it happens, I'll take it. I mean, what do we know? Let's be honest. What do we know? We're all sat there saying, Russo will stay, and look at us now. So, who knows? I think for this one, I will trust that as far as we know, she's still under contract. As long as she is still under contract, then you've got to pay. So providing she's under contract, I can't really see her going anywhere because I'm not entirely sure anybody's going to pay for her. Excuse me, our services appear to be required elsewhere. Let me put that one onto mute.
Is that Jackie's agent on the phone to you, Barry, saying?
Hang on, just 1 second. No, it's Honor. She is actually French. Would you believe it? My God, we've had it wrong all this time.
Oh, there we go. Charlie, throw it over to yourself then for initial thoughts on this article that came out. Jackie to Juventus, like I said, it was rumoured before she joined United that was the place she was going to. Obviously chose United at the time. Can you see that happening as well? Because I think someone's mentioned in the comments earlier on it about there's contradicting reports to this, that a lot of people saying Jackie's close to signing a 2-year, and then this article came out and said throw Juventus's name out there. So
yeah, it seems to be like one extreme or the other, doesn't it? Whether she's staying or she's going. I think that the difficulty is under the leadership that Man United are under at the moment. I've literally no idea, because they communicate nothing. They don't tell us anything at all, whether it's good news or bad news, which I think we would rather know. It's a funny time as well, isn't it? Because the Euro is about to start, and I wouldn't imagine lots of players don't like to get into that sort of discussion over what is an international tournament, which is really important. And then it's a case of it might be after Euro she announces she's staying or she's going. And the way things are at the moment, I would be interested to know what we're offering her that would get her to stay. I hope she does under the current climate, but I'm just not sure. I wouldn't be surprised that other European sides are sniffing around her. Juventus can offer things that we can't. They've just won their 4th consecutive title, undefeated, record goals scored, record goal difference, like in a positive way. I think they got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Unlucky against Lyon, went out 4-3 on aggregate. I think beat them at home. So there's things they can offer that it just looks like we're not going to be able to offer in a million years at the moment. So I wouldn't. She's always been really positive about the club. I think if you follow her on social media about Man United, she's always been really positive. She loves the club. But increasingly, as women's football grows and the demands that players make can rightly grow, I think it will become harder to keep players just because they're a fan of that club. If you can't offer certain, I wouldn't be surprised if she went, because, like I said, there's things that we cannot offer, and I can't see us being able to offer for a little while that lots of other clubs who would love to have her services could offer. So I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up going, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think Lanzel just made the point there. I'm going to come back to your comment, Lanzel, about contracts. That kind of ties in a bit later on when we're talking about this smaller budget, because like Charlie said there, the one thing that we can't offer, we can match clubs, or we should be able to match clubs on everything else, is Champions League. And I think we were chatting about this on WhatsApp, that she's coming out of contract. There's going to be clubs around her. There'll be loads that we don't know about. Juventus is just the one that's currently being reported. Ellie, where do you sit on this then? Are you expecting her to stick around past the Euros? Obviously, like I said, Juventus is the only name that's really being mentioned at the moment, but I'm pretty confident there'll be more than just Juventus that are talking or starting those conversations. What do you kind of expect on the Jackie situation?
Like Charles said, not at the minute, no. Not of everything that's going on. Because, come on, they probably can't even have give Russo another contract. That's why she wants to go. So, obviously, we love Jackie to stay, but if we can't give her the contract that she wants, then of course she's going to go. But really, I don't see it. I can't believe it straight away, because obviously there was one on like a few weeks ago, but then they said Barcelona isn't paying money for her. So I thought, oh, maybe that's not true then now, is it? So you see, they won't pay money for her, I don't think. Not in the situation we're in now. Not with the players, the situation, the contracts. No, because it's like falling apart. So I'm not surprised if she does go. Because
It's also, sorry, Ellie, go on.
Because it's just about the money situation. Whatever she wants from the board, she won't get that money, will she? She'll get under budgeted, and then that's when she'll say, "Listen, I can't stay at the club then if you're not going to pay me what I want and get paid." So
there's also this weird thing, isn't there? That now I'm really glad that Emma came out and said that thing about the budget, because I feel like I'm glad that we know, so we're not sort of being sold on false promises. But there's also this weird thing now, isn't there, where if your budget is minimal, do you with Honour as well. Like it's a horrible no-win situation, really. Do you let players leave their contract early and earn and get some money for them and hope that it comes back to the women's side? I wouldn't believe that it would. Or do you keep them for another year knowing that they're going on a free? It's just a bit of when it doesn't look like you're going to get a lot back in. I don't know.
You only have to look at the LJ money, don't you, on that? Where's that been reinvested? Obviously, I know we got Blundell in return and that, but where's that money gone? It's clearly not gone on transfers. It might have gone elsewhere in the club and into the infrastructure, but it's not a lot of money. It's not going to get you very far. So it's a difficult one.
Communication with our club as well. It's so bad, the communication. Like Martha, we literally got told about Martha the other week. Nothing else is all it's about is like memories from last season. We don't really want that now. We want some signings or some contract.
I do have to say about this though, I mean, because I was hearing this in the men's chat last night as well, and I had to stop watching in the end because I was starting to get myself a little bit irate, and it was nearly bedtime, and you can't be getting yourself calm and then have, at 10 o'clock at night listening to that. It was a good job the US Open was on, otherwise, and I won that one. I won a bet on that. Would you believe it? It's great fun. But I forgot what I was going to say. I've gone that far down the rabbit hole. I need to reverse myself back up again. The communication with the club. Genuinely, is there really any club out there? I mean, I just feel like at the moment we've got a whole fan base that appears to want some form of communication with, almost like they're expecting like to be part of a WhatsApp group, maybe to have, weekly luncheons with the board of directors, whereby they're told everything that's going on. Well, yes, we have put money on the table for Frankie. Yes. Oh, Ella's going to have a 9-year contract. Absolutely. And I'm intrigued. I get people are frustrated. 100% get that we're frustrated that we're not getting any news. But if there's not any news to give you, I don't really know what they're supposed to do. It's a really tricky one, but I just wish people would just back up ever so slightly on what they're expecting, because I don't see this in any other club. I don't see any club, certainly not in the men's game. I've not seen one where they are that vocal with their fans to the level that some people seem to be expecting.
I think maybe the slight difference, and I will disagree here because I know there is going to be a lot of frustration in the comments as the show goes on, particularly when we talk about budgets. We started on Jackie, we're already kind of going into budgets already. But I think that the reason on that is, as Lanzo, you're stealing what I was going to say. When you look at other clubs, you look at City, you look at Chelsea, they've done business already. They've made 2-3 signings, announced departures, announced contracts. Now, if you're a sustainable and well-run club, you get things done before the window's even open. Like these, they probably had those conversations earlier in the year. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have. They probably didn't get to June and go, right, now we sort it. They'd have been talking to Jackie and to Honor and to Root like months and months ago. But the fact we're now coming up to July, we're coming up to the Euros, like Charlie said, these players are not going to want these conversations while the Euros is going on. They're going to want this done before. It's a bit weird that we've not done anything. Only Harris is and that was going to happen anyway.
That comes down to incompetence or lack of planning or lack of preparation. It's not so much the communication. Again, if you're in a situation where you've got loads of people not wanting to sign contracts, do you put that out there? Do you go, do you know what? Actually, we've offered 7 contracts to these girls and not one of them has accepted them. What do? You're going to throw that one out there, because then you are literally saying to the world, yes, come on, we're having a garage sale here at Man United. See what you can find, cheap as chips. And that's not good. So, if we're talking about a business, which we are, you try and protect your assets to the best you can. And, they're not going to be happy with what's been put out there today. They're really not. They're not going to be happy with the fact that it's knowledge now that Russo's not signed the contract and that she's therefore potentially, up for purchase or potentially on a free next year. So I just think, that's what I'm getting at. By all means, have a go at the club because you're not content with their effort levels, that they're not content with the fact they're getting people signed up on contracts. By all means, have a go at that. But also just temper your expectations, because there's no chairman that I've ever known who has allowed that level of communication. So I think that we just need to be a bit clearer. Like I read somebody's one a bit earlier up here about, the club's got no ambition. No, the club does have ambition. There's certain people that might not have ambition or that don't want to pay for that ambition necessarily to be fulfilled. But I think the club has it, because when you say the club, you're talking about everybody. You're talking about the fans, you're talking about the players, you're talking about the staff, you're talking about the tea lady, you're talking about, oh man, you're talking about everybody. And I just wish we were a little bit more, I don't know, maybe it's the teacher in me, but I just wish we were a little bit more specific about who we're having a go at, you know? And that's that really. I would also just want to add to the Jackie thing that Emma Sanders' exact word at the end of her BBC report says she has also attracted attention from European clubs, which either means she saw about Juventus and then went, if I put that, I'll be safe. Or, but that's it. It's one line. And it's just, so I'm still not convinced. I reckon Jackie's here next year.
I'm sure you say something amazing, Charlie, but you're on mute at the moment.
I did wonder why there was silence there.
Never to be repeated. And obviously, people talk about the community. If you think about any job, like Barry, you're know in schools, like communication is poor. Like I bet communication is poor everywhere, and that's the thing that people are picking up on. But that's the thing that people are picking up on, because there is just so much discontent across at Man United from owner level. You talk about the board; they can't do much if the owners aren't bothered. And I think part of the issue is we were talking. I'm sure it was a few weeks ago, not too long ago, about Man United women were almost this like special thing that was still untainted by owners who didn't have the footballing ambitions of the club as a priority. And for me personally, what happened today was you get the impression that we're potentially not going to keep our better players. Potentially, whether that's just because they don't want to stay, or we were ill prepared or lazy with taking time to offer them things. It sounds like the potentially people we replace them with aren't as good as them. They don't match them, so they're worse. And then at the same time, you've got these owners who are taking £11 million out, and I know this probably come up on the other shows as well, who are taking all this money out of the club, and then Man United women are scrabbling around for scraps. And it's not throw money at it and it sticks, but I think in the women's game, I'd give it to them. If they had $500,000, if Man United women had $500,000, which if you think about Manchester United as a business, which I know we hate to refer to it as that, the difference that would make to them is astronomical. And I think what's come out today to say basically Manchester United women are struggling for budget, for funding, to offer wages that certain players want that have probably earned them. I think that's the thing that's upset me most today, is that they make so much revenue, the owners take so much money out. Remember, they've not put anything in. Everything we've ever spent has been money we've made ourselves. They've taken so much out, and now Manchester United women are scrabbling around, by the sounds of things, with a budget less than at least, so not 5, it was at least 5 other clubs in the WSL. That's at least half if we're then the 6th. That's just balmy to me. And if that's been the case this whole time, we've actually done a flipping good job, the players, and whoever the manager's been, if that's what they've been working with all this time, they've done a really good job in hindsight.
I think that's what we said backstage, wasn't it? The fact that we even got 4th, if that is the case, I think Nat makes a good point here. You know, the teams that spend the most are on top. You look at what Chelsea do. I mean, Chelsea almost take the mick with the signings that they make. One quality player goes out, another one comes in like within a week. You know, it's almost ridiculous over there because they're organised. And this is what I was saying earlier. They get things done early enough. It's done all before the Euros. They might make a few more signings, you know, after the Euros and things like that. But their key deals are already done. Whereas United, we're kind of looking around, and I think Nat made the point earlier. We have made deals that maybe are not announced yet. That typical United, they're probably waiting for certain things, or there's certain little minor details that are not fully done yet. But the deals and the names that are being thrown about, it's not like I almost want the club to come out and do a typical United briefing that we're linked to some world-class player. But that's not happening. So it makes you think, we were going to talk about this a bit later on, but we may as well do it now in terms of what Charles just brought up there. That line that I think tipped a lot of people over the edge, including myself today, that this smaller budget than at least 5 other teams, because that to me How can that be the case? We'll go around the house on this initially, just everyone's initial thoughts on that. But how is that the case that Manchester United, this global organisation, hundreds of millions of fans, how are we scraping the barrel, as Charlie said, for the women's team when we've got this? You could argue, you want the women's team to be self-sustainable, but it is. I think, Charlie, you made the point about it being profitable as well. Why are we so low? There we go. I'll open that conversation for you guys. Why are we so low on budget? Is it the fact that the board just don't want to look at the women's team? They're not that. It sounds strong, and I don't really like saying this, but are they looking at it going, that's not the priority, let's look over here? I don't know. I'm speculating. What's everyone think on that?
Well, you know me, Connor. I am the man of positivity. I am the beacon in the darkness, and I have a positive spin for everything. But on this, I don't. There isn't one. I think it is, in this day and age, when we are talking about the growth of the women's game, all red, all equal, when you're coming out with all this sort of stuff, and you can't give, £1 million? Just £1 million in this game changer. Game changer. I'm not being funny. That's like barely a week's wages for like Ronaldo. He's barely got to do anything for that, and I'm annoyed about that. I thought about who these other 5 teams were, and obviously you've got the big 3. We weren't sure who the other 2 could be. We sort of landed on perhaps Spurs and Everton. And I ask you, on what planet does Everton have more budget than Manchester? I can't even tell you the last thing Everton won. I can't even remember the last time they finished in the top 5 or 6 or 7. In fact, they are very much down the Accrington Stanley route, Everton. You're almost going, who are they? And they potentially got more money than Manchester United, the most widely supported football team in the world. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Manchester United Football Club should have, when you are setting up a project like this, where you're building it up to be impressionable to children of all ages, not just girls, but to get everybody to understand that equality is here to stay, that we are here to see football for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you do. It is for everyone. It's not just for the people that can afford, £9 million for a season ticket at Chelsea, or whatever it costs nowadays. It's not about that. And the fact they can't even get small. And I heard somebody say earlier that actually they thought it was potentially because we're just so bothered about the boys at the moment and everything that's going on there. Well, even that's just disgraceful. Get your director of football in. You cannot have all your eggs in these different baskets. I'm really annoyed about that. Really annoyed. And I don't think for one moment that there's any positive to put on that. And if there is anybody from the club watching at this point, tell them I want to speak to them. This is outrageous. It's unbelievable that can be the fact. That's the strongest possible terms I can put it in without swearing, which I promised myself I'll never do on this. So, but I am really, really annoyed.
The key point you made there, but Ellie, before I come over to you with this, I just want your kind of thoughts on that line about our budget. You made the point there, Barry, about this head of women's football that constantly, and I don't want to turn it to that because that's not the point of this show. But when you talk about that role, like so in my job, I don't deal with all of the marketing queries because that's not my job. I don't deal with all the sales stuff because that's not my job either. You have your roles for your specific parts of the business. Now, I don't like referring to United as a business, but ultimately it is. So that's another issue. And it goes back to the planning. Everything is kind of linked into one big issue here. So, Ellie, obviously we were speaking on Twitter before, and I understand your frustration as well. Where are you kind of sitting with this, smaller budget than at least 5? Because she said at least 5. Like Charlie said, it could be 6 or 7. We could be right down the order when we're looking at this. So what's your kind of thoughts on that?
I just think it's all going on our men's team because it's not fair. They're not all looking at the women's team, are they? It's always all about the men's. Don't get me wrong, yeah, the men's are good and they've been around years and years, but come on, they should focus on the women now. Look, you don't see all the don't see every single man on a men's team comment about how good the women are or whatever. I've only seen a few of them. A few of them comment about the women. It's just a joke how it's all turned to the men's team more than the women's. Come on, we should get praised for it. It's like United Women have been put here, or because they just want to make out as if we've got a women's team for equality. Like women, like they said, women should play football and they can play football. And I feel like they've just done this for the women to say, oh yeah, we have got a women's team. Yeah, we have because. Come on, not all the directors are bothered about the women. That's what frustrates me the most. It's always all about the men. Don't get me wrong, I do support the men's team sometimes as well, but I'm more passionate about women's now. I want to see our women get further and get Champions League and everything. But at this moment in time, not our. It's every single penny is going on the men. It's not right. Like Bobby said, it should be equal pay for the men and the women. We get below our average from the men, and it's actually a joke. I'm really frustrated at it lately. I am because why can't we just be equal, the men and the women? The only good thing about it, how they're equal at the minute is at the stadium, that they put the women outside the stadium and the men. That's the only good thing about it. I'm just really frustrated at them at this minute in time because they just don't concentrate on the women. They need to start more and more.
And don't get me wrong, I understand the money. Don't get me wrong. I think we all understand the money at the moment is with the men. You know, you're getting 70,000 every single week at Old Trafford. You know, I get all of those things. I mean, some of them don't even pop in for like 17 minutes, but they're there mostly. And I get that's where the money is. I understand that. I think, you know, nobody's that daft that they don't know that the money at the moment is in the men's game. But it's coming. It's coming for the women. It really, really is. You can see it. It's building. There is a momentum to women's sport at the moment that is just going to carry on. Sky Sports have got it. They're all over it at the moment. It's everywhere. And it's where it should be, which is good. People are having the choice to watch it. You know, girls are growing up. I'm seeing them at school, pleased and having sporting heroes for once. It's nice to be able to see that, where before they haven't. So I get all of that, but the people at the top need to understand that people here aren't asking for trillions of pounds. They're not asking for the level of investment that the men's getting. What they're asking for is for the women to be put on equal footing in their own league for a start, to be given that opportunity. Because once that top three becomes a proper top four, which it pretty much is, it won't be if this carries on, but once it becomes that, United are really going to be up there. And we need to be trailblazing, because that's what we do. That's what Manchester United is all about, is trailblazing. It's not about sitting here watching three other teams taking over a league just because they're willing to put the effort and the money where their mouth is. I'm sorry, they've got to get a grip. They've got to get a grip and pull their fingers out.
And just very quickly before, because I know Charlie will jump in, just off the back of that, it's made me think of a conversation I had with a club that's a bit further down the pyramid, and they were talking about they're massively investing in their women's side, not because it's the right thing to do, but also because at the moment, because the prices are quite low, if you invest now, you'll be better further on down the line when the prices get inflated and when things start to improve. So if Man United are serious, you buy now, buy all your world-class players now, get sustainable Champions League, and then when the prices start going higher and higher and higher, which is going to happen eventually, you're already in that position. Chelsea, Arsenal, City are already there. We need to do it now to make sure 10, 15, 20 years down the line, we're solid in that slot. Sorry, Charlie.
No, that was literally like almost word for word what I was going to say. I was going to say the investment needs to happen now. That's it, because women's football is now just starting to ride the crest of a wave, and it is only going to become more profitable. And now is the ideal time, because we can get a step ahead of the teams that are just behind us, and we might be able to make up ground on the teams that are ahead. But it feels like you go, it makes me so cross. Like you go back in this documentary and you've got all those people talking about how, you know, we decided when we were going to have a women's team, you know, we were going to do it the right way because we're Man United. You haven't. the first year you did things properly because there was so much interest in it. And Man United coming into women's football, and I don't even think Chelsea fans or Man City fans or Arsenal fans would deny that Man United having a women's side, this women's side has massively generated interest and money into the women's game. When you look at away attendances and other bits and pieces, like when Man United come to town, they've earned it. Our women's team have earned just a little bit of investment, and it's a fraction. It's not less about equality, it's about equity, isn't it? It's a 1%, like 1% to make a massive difference. And you look at it, you look back at it now and you think, Old Trafford at the time, that game was a great day. Was it just a gimmick? Was it just checking a box because other teams had already done it? So we better do that now. It's massively disappointing. It's massively disappointing. The issue is we've no faith, I think, in the Man United owners across the board. No faith at all. And I think I've said to you, I've always said, the men are in a rebuild every year. So if we're going to use that as an excuse, we'll use that excuse forever. Because things just aren't being done the right way at the moment at all. And I think they're probably treated like second-class citizens when it comes to Manchester United football inside. It really makes me angry. Really angry. And when you look at like Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, they've had to invest. At times they've had to probably spend more than they make, and they've been supported by the rest of the club, the people in charge, the people right at the top who oversee everything, because you have to in the women's game to grow our side. We have to invest in them. We invest in them, we compete for the top 3. We invest in them, we get in the Champions League. That brings money. Women's game continues to grow. You're then selling out Lee Sports Village regularly. You've got Champions League nights there. You're bringing in sponsors. You're then winning the Champions League. You're bringing in world-class players, which makes money for the club. But it has to start somewhere. And I just don't think the people in charge either aren't bothered or haven't got the gonads to go full throttle with it. And whichever one it is, it's pathetic if you ask me.
I think the prime example you could use off the back of that is Arsenal. I think... Lands or me and you are on the same wavelength here, mate. Every time I'm just about to say something, the comment very similar comes up. But look at Arsenal. They were chasing the league. January, they go out and sign Stina Blackstenius. Now, whether we were in that conversation or not, we spoke to Phil O'Connor in December talking about this. And he said, if United are serious, you go and get her. You pay her whatever you can to bring her in. Arsenal go and get her. She did pretty well, considering she only had half a season to adapt to the WSL. But next season, you look at what that's going to add. And I think we just, like I said, you make your own assumptions. We're all going to assume because none of us know the full details. But we're all kind of sat here going, well, why? That's the big question for me is why? Why are we should not, I'm not saying we should be the highest budget, even though as fans, we believe we should have the highest budget. But at least 5? I mean, that's ludicrous when you're talking about the teams in and around us.
No, we should have. We absolutely should have the highest budget in the league. End of story. We should. No, we should. We are Manchester United. We are Manchester United, and Liverpool, who've only just managed to make it back up, are probably one of those teams that's got a bigger budget than us because they know they need to take it seriously now. It's ridiculous. We are the most successful football team in this country, with the exception of maybe Liverpool, as much as that pains me to say if we're going to be honest. But we are the most successful. Why are we not doing it? We paid as a Premier League in 2017, 2018, I was just looking it up, 100 million in payments to the other 60-odd teams in the league. 64 clubs. And 243 million in parachute payments to the poor little so-and-sos in the Premier League who couldn't make it and made it into the Championship, and they had to pay all the big money to the people that needed their wages because they'd starve without it. These people are disgusting. They're disgusting when they get to that level. I'm sorry, £100 million amongst 60-odd clubs. One makes a difference. I feel like I'm doing an advert for Comic Relief. It's 2022. What's going on? £1 million. We could probably raise that at a GoFundMe. It's mental. What is going on? £1 million. Can you donate £1 million to save your local women's side and make it better so that your club has a better reputation? If you can, please donate to 1-800 Blazers Out.
Do you know what I'm glad about, though? I am glad that across social media today there has been massive backlash from this. I'm glad there has been. And good on Emma for being brave enough to tweet what she did. And there's been backlash. But the next thing is, what do we do? Like, what is this? And it's obviously not a question we can answer necessarily now, but we need to do something. What happens next? Like, what happens next?
Well, that's the question, Ellie. I'll come to you first on this question, and it sounds really depressing. I'm gonna ask it anyway, but it does. Apologies to anyone watching, expecting a bit of positivity. We might try and find some before the end of the show, but
I'll find some somewhere.
Is there a fear, Ellie, that we're going to start to see this club going backwards from a women's side perspective? Because we know that there's all hype around Ten Hag at the moment. Everything's great. We've all seen that Richard Arnold unlawful filming of the conversation he had with some of the fans at the pub. But the one thing I said, I saw it a lot on Twitter afterwards, the women's team weren't mentioned in those conversations that were happening. It was all about, we're going to get De Jong, Ten Hag's getting this. Well, what about Mark Skinner? Why are we not, where's the conversations there? So are you worried, Ellie, that maybe we'll start to slip backwards and maybe this is as close as we got? We got fourth twice and we might start slipping away.
Yeah, I think we will. If it carries on like this, I think we'll go backwards on ourselves. We'll end up losing loads of players, and then to be exact, I don't want to sound depressing, but to be exact, I kind of think if it keeps like this, we just won't have a team again like we did. And I'll be truthful, that's what will happen. And we all don't want that. We'll be heartbroken because look at the team got to this day. The good players we've got, the good players and everything. But obviously we're coming on to that later, but it's about the ambition. Ambition, what the players want and the club want. So next season we all want silverware. The players want silverware. If they don't get that, that's it. They'll be out the door. And we don't want that, because if we go backwards and backwards, that's it. We won't have a team no more again, and that's not what we all want. The first thing first, Mark will get sacked, and then what? We'll have to bring a new one in again. And that'll just, I'm not saying anything, but that'll just mess with the players' heads again. A new manager, a new tactics and everything. So that's what I mean. If it keeps going like this, that's it. We won't have a team again anymore. And we don't want that. Because it's like they just thrown United Women's in because they go out and say, yeah, we've got a women's team as well. I'm sorry, I'm really peed off by it all. That's all. I just am.
I think I remember having a conversation with Nat actually back in, I think it might have been, it was October, November time. And I think, Nat, if you asked in the comments, you'll remember this, about United women just being a tick box and that worry that is that just why they set them up? Is it just it's a tick in the box? And at the time, I was very much like, surely that can't be the case. But as this goes on, and like TJ does make a good point, it is still rumours. We don't know. The window's not officially closed yet. Like I said at the start, we could still have a good window. But the conversations that are coming out from people that speak to people within the club and the conversations that you hear and you start seeing, I know, look at Barry's face, you start seeing what's come out today. There's different... It's hard to ignore. You can't ignore it, and there must be some truth in it. And I think you only have to look at Casey's interviews when she was around. You look at Skinner's interviews where they're always talking about investment. So I think that is a very clear indication of what they'll know. Yeah, they're the people that know the most. So I think there is a slight concern that maybe, like I said, we might still have a good window. And, we'll be talking about this in August, September, going, I can't believe we've signed her. What a signing. We could go on and push for the league next year. But at the moment, as we are today on the 20th of June, I had to get a date right now, it's not looking likely, is it? I can see, Barry, you want to jump in on this.
Well, the first thing I wanted to throw in was the reason I was laughing was because you said the transfer window's not closed yet, and it's actually been open for about 3 days. So it's like it would be the world's shortest transfer window. It's not only is it not even closed yet, it's not even really started, boys and girls. It's only just getting the wheels on the bus going around and around. I think there is a danger of going backwards. There absolutely is. And I think Liverpool are a good example of what happens if you don't pay attention to your women's side, because they didn't do that for a year. They were too busy trying to chase Manchester City. And then look where they ended up in the Championship. Now, that could end up with a positive outcome because they then ended up putting a bit more money in, a bit more thought in, a bit more effort in. Liverpool made it back up the next year, and we'll see how they get on this year. But I I am worried that if they don't, if the people above, because let me have this right, okay? We were talking about positivity. The positivity is that we all know where the problem is. Every single one of us knows that it's the window cleaners that are causing the drama here. And they are the ones that need to ensure that the money drips down, much like the water on the windows. At the moment, the thing that makes Manchester United great, the thing that makes us brilliant in terms of the women's game is our fans. We're bringing the atmosphere in every single time. We care about these players. We're fighting for them. You know, we're going to bat for them. And they in turn for us. But you can only rely on that particular connection for so long, because these girls aren't Alan Shearer. They're not going to sit there and go, oh, no, medals don't mean anything to me. I'd much rather stay here and just be loved by 40,000 delusional people. Instead, what they want is to win stuff, because that's what any elite sports person wants. So they very, very, very much need to be aware that we need to be starting to challenge. We need to be building up. We need to build the team. We know that we need to do that. Every conversation we've had has been based on us keeping what we've already got and building upon it, making it better. If we start losing those things that have made us as good as we currently are, that's then going to be a drama. So I do worry a little bit about going backwards. I do also want to throw out there about this whole Richard Arnold thing. Legally, the geezers have done nothing wrong. Legally, they've done absolutely zero wrong. So, you know, politically, Prime Minister, if you're watching, get a grip. But number two, legally, he's done nothing wrong. Morally, these people are bankrupt. And not even just for that. What planet are we living on where football has become so important that we doorstep people at their houses? What happened? I missed something. I went to bed a few nights ago and I've woken up in a world that has gone absolutely balmy. I know we're balmy army, but balmy. Balmier than balmy. Crazy. What is that? People have turned up at somebody's house where their wife might live, or husband, children. Anybody could live. You do not have the right. Well, you have the right, but again, Boris, what you do have is a moral obligation to not be sitting there and doing what they did. And I found that really quite disturbing, that the support and the problems that people have got with these people at the top is getting to this level where people, whether they are rich or poor or whatever they might be, need to sit there and worry about the fact that somebody could turn up at their house. And then to diffuse that, he went down the pub to have a chat with them, and they repaid that by recording him, even when reports say he shouldn't have done it. It's ridiculous, and it takes me back to the hooliganism days. It's just all in a different form. So I'm really sorry, but if there's anybody there who 100% agrees with what I'm hearing, people backing it up, going, "Oh well, but at least we know now. It's good that it's out there." Well, yeah, it is, but still, hello, you know, the ways and means of doing things. So I just wanted to kind of throw that one out there. But I really do believe that we as a club have got to understand that where we excel is in the love that we have. And that's why I keep saying, stop having a go at the club. Have a go at the people that matter. If you're going to mention them, mention them. It's the Glazers that are the problem. They are the drama. They are the people that are causing this football club at the moment to have the divisions and the problems that it's got. That's them. 100% on them. And everybody else, whether we like it or not, is underneath them. They are the ones that are in control. And Mark Skinner can want and want and want and want until the cows come home. But if he's not given, it's like a child, isn't it? What would you like for Christmas? I would like an iPad, I would like an iPhone, and I would also like a PlayStation 5. We can't afford that. I'm unemployed. I can't afford that. Don't matter. That's what I want. It's irrelevant. If you're not getting it, you're not getting it. You can want as much as you like. And I just think we need to understand as a club that that's where we are at the moment. And this salute is for you, TJ.
That was a hell of a speech. That would get you in Parliament just doing that. Well, the little speech that you went on then, it kind of ties in nicely. We've touched on it a little bit throughout the show, but talking about ambition, this kind of ties into the Russo contract rejection and what's on the thumbnail. And I'll come to you first, Charlie, on this. And so it's just a simple question. I don't even know the answer. Are we seeing the club match the ambition of the players, or do you think there's a disparity there? Now, I would straight up say that the players have got more ambition than the club. However, Ella Toon signed a contract last year, mid-season, and it was a long contract. So clearly, I've said this a lot, clearly she got told something, or maybe she just really wanted to stay. I don't know. But I would have thought she'd have been sold some ambition for her to sign the contract length that she did. But we're seeing today Russo declining the contract extension, even though she's still got another year. We're seeing Honor wanting to leave. Obviously, when Barcelona came knocking, obviously I know they got Lucy Bronze now, but that's a hard call to turn down. And you've got Jackie potentially as well. All of our best players seem to be wanting the exit door. I hate to put it like that, but that's how I'm kind of seeing it at the moment. But what do you think, Charlie, on that? Do you think the players have got more ambition than the people above them, or?
Oh God, that literally hurt. You just saying all of that, like that physically was like, I think Tooney's contract came at an interesting time because it looked like we were also going to put up a title charge then at that period of time. Do you remember? And in hindsight, we talked about we should have got them all. We should have got them all on board then, when it looked like there'd be a run-in for the title. I mean, when we talk about the club's ambitions, I think the ambitions of our players will be sky high because we've actually got young players who are starting to get into the international side. So they're ambitious for their footballing career. The fans are ambitious, quite clearly. I think historically we know that Casey was ambitious, often talked about our budget being nowhere near the other sides that were above us and around us. I think Mark Skinner is ambitious in spite of what you think of his character and how maybe he speaks sometimes. For me, the red flag was when he just all of a sudden kept talking about we need investment. And that worried me because that screamed of trying to put some pressure on. So if I say it, if I verbalize that publicly and talk about needing investment, that puts pressure on the people who can make things happen. Because also, like, investment doesn't just mean going out and spending 250,000, which is quite a lot in the women's game, on a player. It's also the wages you can offer. So there might be players available for free, and the people who make those decisions about wages aren't willing to pay competitive wages for particular players. So I think lots of elements of the club are ambitious for Manchester United women to do well. But like Barry said, the element of it that is not ambitious is unfortunately the one who has the final say on the incomings, on the outgoings, on the money that goes into it, on the facilities, on all those sorts of things. I don't believe they're ambitious. And I don't think they're ambitious from a footballing point of view across the board, if I'm being quite honest. But obviously with the men's side, you don't get away with it because they're so at the forefront of the footballing world. You have to be seen to respond when it isn't going well. Whereas for the women's side, you can probably get away at the moment with not doing. So I think there is a complete yin and yang is when it works well, and anti-yin and yang between the ambition of the window cleaners, as Barry put it, and literally everybody else underneath that. Every other stakeholder is ambitious except for the one that makes the final decision.
I tend to agree with that. Ellie, I want to get your thoughts on that as well, but also on this question, that is it a worry that we can't sell a project to, I'm assuming you're on about Russo here, Lanzel, that United fan, homegrown player, all those kinds of things, and she doesn't want to stay. Is that kind of the first major concern? Obviously, just what Charlie said there. Do you think the players have got more ambition than, probably not the fans, as Charlie said, but the people? When I say the people above them, I'm talking board members. I'm talking the people that make the stuttering now, the decisions on how the club is run.
Yeah, of course. Because Russo just wants someone to win silverware, I think. And at this moment in time, I don't think she sees it going anywhere, does she? I mean, I know she's a homegrown United fan, and she has been for years and years. But if she can't sit there and say, Mark say, oh yeah, we'll win silverware next season, and that's part of what I think about too, why she's signed a contract long for longer. So like, obviously when I seen that today about Russo, she's gonna go next season. Then I thought, what, next season she'll just go on the free then. On the free, I was like, no, we need money for her. She's actually one of our best players. And if we keep her next season, she'll just go on the free at the end of the season. I thought, we don't want that. We want money for her. We want money for her. So I mean, half of them thinks if they want to go, let them go. And I think Nat pointed out before, said bring Brun in then and let Russo go. Bring Brun in, because apparently she's gone now. But like bring Brun in if Russo is to go, because then if she goes, what's next for us? We'll just look around. We'll look all like lost and everything, won't we? Like what we need to bring a player in quick and fast.
Yeah. Sorry, just quickly jump in. I actually agree. I think this is the bang. I think this summarises it perfectly. I don't think it's that Russo wants to play. It's not that she doesn't want to play for Man United. It's because as a player, as we've said throughout this show, it only goes so far if you support the club. Like if we're all United fans, if we were playing for Man United, but we weren't winning anything, and let's say Real Madrid, when the men's just won the Champions League, or Lyon for the women's game, you'd go there because you want to go. You want to win trophies. You want to have your name, on, kind of have that legacy. So I think that is perfectly the case. That I just don't think the club potentially. Again, I've got to keep saying that because we don't fully know, but I genuinely think that is the case. I don't think the club. And I think Charlie's right as well in what you said, that the fact that Skinner kept saying it, he kept repeating. All of his. You watch all of his interviews from February onwards, he was talking about investment in nearly every single post-match interview that he did, and I think that speaks volumes as well.
But see what I mean? Russo, say she wanted to go to one of them big three clubs that season after. Then she'll get a name for herself. She gets slagged off and everything by some of our so-called fans. She'll get slagged off saying, "Oh, why I've gone to that big team." Do you know why? I'd say it's because of the money they have, and the ambitions they have. So say she went to City, that's it then. Some fans might like slag her off saying, "Oh, why have you gone there? Why have you gone there? You're not a United supporter. You're not this. You're not that." This is what I mean. She'll still get a name for herself anyway if she does go to them big three clubs. That's what I think.
She also might be thinking about this position for the Lionesses as well. Obviously not this summer, but for some reason she's not getting the minutes she perhaps should be getting, and there's also that as well that might be playing a part. Being here at a better than average side that's not winning anything isn't getting her the international opportunities that she'll perhaps want. So maybe that could also be influencing it as well. You can't blame her for it. It's like anyone in a job. If you're ambitious, you make sideways moves to move upwards, don't you? Or you make upwards moves straight away. So she can't be blamed for that. And my worry would be, and we've talked about this before, is that and again, long season we've had so far, Barry, you've already said, but obviously the worry is if it doesn't start well next season, it will be Skinner and the players who receive the backlash. That's how it will be from the media, from some corners of the fan base, from fans from other clubs will pile on, which I completely understand. We know how we would respond if when Man City were doing poorly. We loved that. And I just worry that they will be the ones that take the hit if we don't invest as we should, react as we should, and therefore perform as we should. And then, like Ellie said earlier, it's then just rinse, repeat, isn't it? Like it's been in the men's side. Right, let's chop the manager, let's get someone new in, get a free signings in. Oh, that's not worked. We'll chop the manager again. And I just don't want it to become this vicious cycle of what could happen and what we've seen happen. It's happened at Everton a little bit, or on a worse scale. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you see, I see, because Toons, sorry, but because Toons signed a longest contract now, her ambition might be, oh yeah, we could win a silverware next season. But if we don't, I could see her departing if we don't, because Ella Toon has to be. She probably does have some ambition, like she wants to win a silverware in next season. And if we don't go about it next season, then, or if we don't get Champions League, I think some players might actually want to go next season because it'll be their ambition.
100%. I do agree with that as well, to be fair. Barry, I want to come over to you to get your thoughts on this, but I do want to answer this question from Lanza because I did say I'd come back to it. There's been so many comments coming in. I kept having to scroll up and then it kept scrolling back down again, but I found it, Lanza. I think this is the comment I was coming back to. Barry, if you want to answer that as brief as you can, and obviously the thoughts on the Russo talk and the contract rejection there.
Okay, well, my first thoughts are we're doing it again. It's happened in the last 3 things you put up there. Do you think the club? People need to be specific. The club is many, many, many parts. Many parts. Do I think the club actually look at what the fans think in regard to social media? Well, do the players? I'm sure they do. I'm sure that there's a few of them that are looking at social. We know that because they like our tweets. Do I think they cultivate their social media? I hope so. I really, really hope so. Because if they don't, they need some lessons on how to do that. Because that could be soul destroying in some cases. But, you know, I think generally we know when you say the club, you're talking about the higher ups, the people in charge. And, you know, yes, they do. You know, I've worked at a club before and I've seen the inner workings and the sort of things that happen. And yeah, they know what's going on. The question is whether they care. It's not, you know, they're not silly. They're 100% aware of what's going on social media, what the fans are thinking, how they're behaving. Listen, Mr. Arnold, his best mate, the old landlord, he was, you know, spying out for him. Matey, quick, you need to get down here. We've got some bozos who are trying to, you know, go around the house. Cheers, Tom. You know, so that could have been his name. But I just think, do they care? And that really is the question, is do they care? And that leads me nicely into what we were just talking about, which is that there's 2 reasons why you would do something. So again, I said I've worked at a club before. The guy that did that was quite wealthy. You know, he had a lot of money. He was capable of putting money into the club should he wish to. He didn't. He made it incredibly clear that everything needed to be self-sufficient. And the reason was because the club had nearly gone bust about a decade before he took over. It was struggling. It was going down, down, down. And eventually it got to the point where he had to buy it out. And his promise basically to the fans was, I will never let this club get to the point where it will potentially fold again. And that's what, you know, people are speaking about here, is that maybe there won't be a club anymore. So he deliberately made it so it was self-sufficient. It was literally one of those where if you don't have the money for it, this is what we can afford. This is what we can actually commit to giving without spending beyond our means, basically. So that is one of the ways in which people can make the decision. The problem is that's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here. These are not people going, oh, no, we need the women's side to be more self-sufficient, because I don't think they care about that. The problem is what they're looking at is, where do we get the most wedge from? Champions League gives us most money, because that's, you know, we wanted the European Super League. We can't have that. So we need to have the next best thing, which is this one, which is the European Super League. That's what we need. So that's the first thing they're after. They want money. That's all they're interested in. And the simple fact is we were having, well, I say we, I wasn't there for it, but we were having to stand there in the stands, good place to stand, where we were shouting at the top of our voices at certain points in the game for equal FA Cup money. So there's no money really being made in terms of the women's game. And so because it's not, it's so easy for the people in charge that have all the money and want all the money to just go, it's not that important. It's almost, I don't think it's a tick box exercise. I think it's say, let's try and keep the fans happy exercises. Let's try and throw these things around. And that's the thing. It's not being treated as what it should be treated as. And that's the bit that's annoying me. You know, I will support this club until the day that they carry me out of the building and get rid of me. I will, because it's in my blood. I've got no choice in that. You know, that will be my club until the day that I die. But it doesn't mean that just because I will give you my unconditional support, that I'll let you make mugs of people just simply because you can't be bothered to do the right thing. And I genuinely think that this is the problem. They are more bothered about where's the money going to come from. That's why they're trying to fix the men's team at the moment, because they're bothered about where the money's coming from. They haven't finished top 4. For the women, it's not that massive amount of money. You know, we're still waiting. I said to you, we're still waiting for the first Trevor Francis in the women's game. We still haven't broken £1 million transfer fees. So they can let Russo go for free, because they're talking in the comments about 200 grand. 200 grand, that's a Big Mac to the Glazers. That's a Big Mac meal. That's what they're talking about.
So is that where then? And this is an open conversation. Is that where? Because Marty's talking there about who makes the decision. It's obviously there's the board of directors that will make the day-to-day. I don't think Joel Glazer really cares what happens on a day-to-day basis at Man United. They're more interested in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as the American audience will know. But I think I can't remember what I was going to say now. Oh, Barry? What were you just talking about? I've had a complete mind
About where the money comes in from.
Oh my life! What was I going to say?
You're talking about Marty's thing about who actually makes the final decision. I think some of it does go through to going through to America for final decisions to be made on lots of things.
Yeah, no, I've lost it. I've completely lost the question that I was going to ask.
I think where you were going with that is that Joel Glazer is effectively like the Queen. He doesn't have to, legally he has to sign everything off. But a few things you can just stick under his nose and he'll just sign.
My question.
There you go. I thought I'd fill it enough for you. Off you go, Connor. Over to you.
Yeah, no. So what I was going to ask is this not where, and it goes back to, I didn't really want to mention this, but it does kind of tie into the budget and these kind of things. If it's not money that's the problem, I know this is obviously the budget side of things as well. Clearly, we are not offering what other clubs are offering. But is that not where, if you had a loud voice ahead of women's football in the boardroom going, hang on a minute, what about us over here? At the moment, you've got John Murto who got involved. You've got, other people that got involved. But you don't have that person who's going to sit in the boardroom and go, hang on a minute, there's a women's team over here. Did you know about us? There's not that person yet. So I think there's people that, like I said, John Murto gets involved. You see Darren Fletcher at a couple of games and those kind of things. But are they really pushing that along as much? Because if it's not money, it's clearly time. It's one or the other. It's either they don't care, which I don't think is fully the case. I think they care a bit, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things. If it's not money, because they're not going to make any money, then it's got to be time. Now, that's where you put the people above Skinner. We don't know who Skinner's talking to in terms of those conversations. So I don't know what everyone thinks on that. Is that not where you need a voice in the boardroom to say, hang on a minute, the women's team finished fourth last year. Good, pretty good season. If we invest, we could push on and break the top three. Is that not the kind of conversations it should be having?
Yes. Yes.
Very simple.
I mean, I don't feel like that conversation really requires a huge amount more than that, to be brutally honest with you, 100%. It needs people. It needs people to be banging the drum, but we are banging the drum. The problem is they will look at it and they will go hundreds of millions of pounds, a couple of millions of pounds. And they're going to go where the money is because they can't be shaving, 70 million dividends off of things if they're not getting the money.
Okay. I think I've got a couple more questions before we look to wrap up then. Like I said at the start, we'll try and wrap this up in a positive way. So I want to ask this question first. What do we do then? We're, as Barry said, we're three or 4 days into the transfer window. There's still such a long time to the end of the window. What do we do as fans now? Surely the answer has to be we wait until the end of the window and see where we are then. Because like I said, if we all go down to LSV tomorrow, start protesting, and then we go and sign, a world-class player tomorrow, it looks a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? So I think we have to wait until the end of the season. But I'll come to you first, Charlie, on that. What do we do now then? I think we've seen today the collective unity amongst fans. I think everyone has kind of got together on this. But what would you say is the next steps on this?
I think we just keep being vocal as and how we can, whether it's asking for things or asking for answers or making our thoughts and sort of what we want to happen really clear. I think we also need to make sure as fans that we're united. Oh, pun intended. Because obviously everyone wants the same thing here. What we want is for Manchester United women to be successful and to be competitive and to be where they deserve to be, which is near the top of the pyramid with the resource that should be available. So we just need to make sure that as a collective, we remember that that's what we want. We also need to remember, I think, that just to not treat the players or the manager necessarily in this situation, if the transfer window is non-existent, that we don't treat them as scapegoats, that we don't fall into that trap, which can often happen, of blaming the manager and blaming the players who are probably doing the best they can. I think Lansdale retweeted or quote tweeted something from Mark Skinner's latest article release, which was really poor timing from the admin staff, I'm not going to lie. But he quoted a tweet that Mark Skinner said, "In the future, I don't want us to be fixated on qualifying for the Champions League. Shouldn't we now be thinking about the league and winning the whole thing?" So what we have to do is remember those words. That's what he wants, and that's what the players want. And we just have to be vocal, I think, in our support of them. And that's the way we can help move things on. And then, like you said, wait and see what happens. I think post Euros is probably long enough to wait. And if nothing starts happening there, that's maybe when you need to galvanise a little bit more pressure, but as a group, and work together and just ensure it doesn't become fractious.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. Ellie, I'll ask you that question as well before we go to one final question to wrap up. But what do you want to see now then? Do you obviously, like I said, we all want to see unity and that kind of thing. But would you say that we need to wait until after the Euros? Let's see where we are come kind of August, September, and then if it's still like this, then we start making some decisions on things.
Yeah, because like Charlie said, we can't go to LSV tomorrow and just start protesting when we don't even when we could actually sign the players tomorrow. That's just not how it works. I think we just need to wait till the end of the window, just maybe just before the Euros, even after, and just see where we're at then, and then we can try and organise something and make them listen to us fans. And I do think they do listen to us, but maybe they should listen to us a little bit more on things that we want. So I think we just need to wait now. Just wait and see. Because we can't just jump to a conclusion straight away. Just wait till after Euros, see where we're at.
But I do think... Go on, Ellie. No, go on, Ellie. You finish. Sorry.
I do hope we sign some players, though. Because then other WS teams will look at us and think, wow, they've not ever done literally anything in this window. That just says a lot about them, doesn't it? And I don't want that. I really don't. Like the other day, I seen something about West Ham players or something, on about our midfield. I was like, what? I was like, wow. I said, that's not the name we want ourselves. The players we want to come in.
Yeah. I do think that if the new season starts and we're looking lightweight, and we're maybe losing players and not getting what we should, then I think yes, I would be all for a more gung-ho, practical approach to things we can do to get our message across to the board and potentially the owners, whilst ensuring that I think we have to ensure that the players aren't feeling the entire weight of that, because it's them. They're the ones playing the games. It's just ensuring that they're all the weight of any, which I'm all for. When sometimes they're necessary, absolutely, but just making sure we're protesting the right time to the right people, I would.
100%. This is a fantastic comment, Marcus. Hurry up and wait. Two opposite ends of the spectrum there. I'm not quite sure which one that would be. I'll go to this final question because it's something that Emerson did mention in our article when talking about this. I'll come to each of you on this final question then. The quote from Emma was that Skinner has said consistently that he's confident in bringing players in to improve the squad. So I guess the question is, I think we've all kind of answered this actually as the show has gone on over the past hour or so, that do we have the kind of belief then, try and put a positive spin on this, that come when's the season starts, September, I think it is, that we will be in a different position to where we are now? Or are we going to have to get the green and gold scarves out and start protesting outside LSV like we saw at Old Trafford? I'll come to you first, Barry.
Okay. As you know, I am a beacon in the darkness, and I've finally got some things off my chest that needed to happen today. Let's leave the window cleaners where they belong, because we've focused on them basically in this show. We know that that's the reason. The club as a whole has got real good ambition, and we need to remember that. Skinner, the fans, the players, they all care. If people like Russo, Groenen, Honor, if they're not wanting to stay, it's not because of anything we've done. They could not be more welcomed, more loved, more supported, more cared for than they are at LSV. They genuinely couldn't. So it can only be ambition. It can only be they want to go somewhere to win things. If that's the case, we've got a lot that we can be proud of. So vegan in the darkness. Yes, I am. Mainly because I think I'm reaching for the chicken and actually it turns out to be something else, like crisps. But there you go. I do feel that we have got absolutely everything in our locker to be out. My reflective head is a beacon of the darkness. Mate, this is sunburn. Mate, Sports Week is not good. Look at these people trying to take me away from my enlightening message. If I do that, I'm getting Ten Hag ready. I genuinely think that we've got positivity coming out of our veins at Man United when it comes to the players. And we need to continually stick with these girls, as we have done. I honestly believe whatever happens, Mark Skinner, can we just point out, based on what we've just heard today, is an absolute genius. He's managed to keep us at level 4th against teams that have got more money than us. So there's point one. We've managed to do that with this budget. So we should still, yes, I have. We should still be, it's mainly off the glasses, I think, at the moment. We should still be 4th, at least. I'm being trolled, I feel like.
I'm so sorry, Barry.
I'm not even looking down there. It's outrageous. You wait till it's your go. But no, genuinely, Skinner's done really well. The players are doing really well. The fans are doing really well. Yes, we need to be vociferous. And I would follow what Lanzell said. We need to get these letters into, the people above us and let them know just how unhappy we are with the amount of investment. Absolutely do that, 100%. But Skinner's done really well. And I think we just need to be positive about that. Whoever he brings in, I haven't changed, by the way, my argument that desire is just as important. And ultimately, if we end up losing a Russo because her desire is stronger to go elsewhere than it is to stay here and fight and be part of a winning team, well, then we're going to have to let that go. It will hurt. It will hurt like when you rip off, after you've had a blood test, one of those things. All the men will know what we're talking about there. It really hurts. Girls will as well when they get waxed. It's no fun. It really hurts. It's not cool. We don't like it. But ultimately, you're all right. They wax their necks. How is that? How is that controversial? Did you not know that, Connor?
It's not controversial. I just don't know how in the 2-3 minutes you've been talking, you've put in so many different innuendos and comments and little... I don't even know how you do it, Barry. I don't know how you do it.
To be honest, mate, I'm that hot at the moment. I'm not entirely... I might be overeating. That's possibly what's happening. It's all just coming out now. But it will hurt. But it doesn't change the fact that our desire, if the players that we're bringing in have got that same Skinner ethos, I think it'll be all right. So I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful. And I just think that's what we need to be, to realise that at the end of the day, we are Manchester United. And that is something that is amazing. And we as fans need to remain that. We need to be Manchester United and we need to carry on singing for those girls, supporting them. Because if we stop, then we're in serious trouble. But as long as we're fighting and we're carrying on and we're cheering for them, we can't be ignored in that respect. And the girls deserve that. So that's kind of where I am with it.
100%. Charlie Ellie, I'll let you wrap up the show then. Your kind of thoughts, not on some of Barry's statements.
I have no idea what just happened. I can't remember what the original question was.
Neither can I, to be
honest.
It
I look to do that at least once a session, Charlie.
It was something about what Skinner's comments were. I think I can't even remember what my question was now. I've closed my notes down as well. Barry was going on about all kinds of things there. I've lost where it was. Oh, dear. So Skinner's obviously confident. He says that he's going to bring in players to better the squad. Do we just have to trust what he says now and fingers crossed by the end of the window we're celebrating a successful window?
I don't like it. It's so weird. It's just bizarre. Like, what a bizarre position for him to be in. Because if they have got things going on behind the scenes, and I've never hoped I am wrong more than I do now. I hope everything we've said is wrong. I hope we've completely got it wrong. But if we're wrong and we get a good chance of winning, that's brilliant. But if we're right and he's having to say those things either because he's been told to or he feels like saying them will help him out, I don't know. It's not him that I don't trust. And I know in the work they're in, they have to follow the party line. You do in any job, don't you? You follow the party line in public, even if you don't agree with what's really happening behind the scenes, because that's unfortunately what having a job entails in lots of ways. So I've no issue with him. I've no issue with him. I don't even know how to word it properly. He's not the problem. Yeah, that's it, Marty. Posturing to convince the board. That's what I think, and that's what I was saying before. Everything he's saying will be for the good of the club. When he first came in, I don't think he realised how big it was, but he does now. He knows how important this club is, this football team is to the fans, and he'll be doing everything that he can. But like Barry said before, in many ways his hands might be tied, and we won't really know the outcome of that until the transfer window closes, on whatever day it closes. Just hope that we're wrong is what I really hope.
Yeah, definitely. And Ellie, I'll let you take the floor to wrap up the show. Like I said, Skinner's comments, do we just have to trust in him? And hopefully, like I said, we all hope we're wrong. Like I said, it's been quite I think we needed this show because we needed to get this off our chest. And I think a lot of the fan base are agreed on this. But I think we all hope we're wrong, come kind of September when the season starts. But Ellie, do we just need to trust in him and hope that he knows, that he's got the trust of the board behind him and that we will see some good additions to the squad come September?
I really do hope so, because, come on, if we don't, that's it. Matt's just going to get a name for himself, and that's what we don't want. He'll be all in the news saying this and that. And that's what we don't want, because Mark is actually a very good manager. And it might be biased, but I think he's one of the best managers in the WSL so far. And obviously I'm Hayes. But I just think we need to be behind him now all the way. Even if not hit rock bottom, but say if they did one day, we'd still be behind them all and chanting and you know what? Shouting our words out and chanting, because that's what makes the team the team, and that's what makes Mark, because he has all these positive attitudes. It's because us fans do as well. Like you sometimes don't even see the other teams after a loss. You sometimes don't see them chanting like we do, like we say we love United. We do all the time, even after we lose. That's not something everyone else does. So I think we just need to keep being passionate about a team we love, because like I've seen fans in the men's game go, you know what, sack this, I'm not even supporting them anymore. And this is not what we want in the women's team. We just have to be behind them every step of the way. Even if Russo goes, she goes. I know it really hurt us all, it really will, but we can't make her stay if she doesn't want to go and she wants to win trophies and everything. So I think this next season we just need to try and get silverware, because that's it then. If we don't, that's it. The players will go. We'll get a bad name for ourselves, like we kind of already have because of the men's team. That's not what we don't want. So I just thought we need to get some players in now in this window, and even if it's just before the season starts, then let it be. But I just don't want him to rush and panic and like, yeah, come on, we need you now because we've not really got anyone. I just think we need to keep being passionate about the team. Like, no, we can't be hating on them and everything. Just be behind the girls every step of the way, because we all know they appreciate it.
100%. Oh, Barry, go on.
I was just going to say September the 8th. Keep your eye on it. Maybe September the 7th. Just imagine it. We're going to get them all. Miedemar, Kerr, they're all coming. September the 7th. It's all rumours.
That would be quite something. Yeah, I agree with all the points made over the last hour or so. I think Ellie, you're bang on it. I think no matter what happens, it's undeniable. We'll all be there on first game of the season. People abroad will be watching it. That's never going to change. But I think the only way that this changes and the attitude of the club changes towards the women's team is fans like we've had in the comments today, us for other people, that you see at games and all these kinds of people keep banging the drum, because otherwise nothing will change. If people don't speak out, nothing will change. It will just stay as the same as it is. So, having these conversations is important and keeping that going. Lanzo, absolutely no worries at all. It has been a slightly different show, but I think this has been needed today. And I massively appreciate absolutely everyone who's commented today. I'm sorry I've not got to absolutely every comment because there's been so many this evening. Really hope you've kind of enjoyed. Thanks to Ellie, Charlie, and Barry for coming on. We'll be back on Thursday. We're discussing the Lucy Bronze transfer and what's going to happen with Honor. Because, who knows with her now. There's a couple of other clubs sniffing around her. Keep an eye on the Ulf United WFC Twitter over the next 2 or 3 days or so. There's a couple of announcements going out this week that has implications for the channel moving forward and all those kinds of things. So just keep an eye on that over the next few days or so. And Lanzo, bang on. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. And Barry will be back on Friday as well for Fans Forum. So make sure you keep an eye on that.
Stable internet connection.
See, what more can you want? Barry and a stable internet. We love to see it. So make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys very soon.